Welcome, impactful parents. Today, we're going to talk about how to break bad news to your child. Welcome. My name is Christina. I am founder of The Impactful Parent, and every week I come on and do question and answer live. So if you have a question for me for next week, please submit it. You can direct message me on social media, or you can email me at theimpactfulparent@gmail.com. And all submissions are always anonymous. But let's get to today's question. And today, somebody just wrote in and asked, how do I break bad news to my child? Well, today I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide for breaking that bad news to your child so that you can do it in the best way possible. Because let's face it, life is going to give you lemons at some point, and it will affect your child. And so giving them bad news, whether it's something that happened or a death in the family or anything like that, you need to be prepared to give your kids bad news and try to do it as best as you can. So today's step-by-step process is going to help you do that. And let's get started. So step one for breaking bad news to your child is to try and find a good environment to do that. If possible, find a time that your child is not being distracted, that they're in a relatively fine mood. Find a quiet, private place, and you'll need to prepare yourself for spending some time with your child. So try not to tell your bad news when you don't have the time to actually sit and process the information with them. Sometimes I think as adults, we want to rush it and just like rip off the Band-Aid really quick. And honestly, we're going to get to how to do that. Like telling them will be kind of rip the Band-Aid off type of thing, but you will need to spend some quality time with your child after the news is broken. So you really need to spend some time with your child and be prepared to do that. So step two of all of this, before you even talk to your child and you get ready to do that, is also to get your own feelings under control. This is especially important if the bad news is affecting you also. You want to be your child's anchor and support for the bad news. So if your own emotions are radical, then you won't be much help to your child. This is not to say that you don't show your own emotions. It is good for your child to see your feelings, but you want to role model self-control even if you're very, very sad yourself. Now, step three is tell them the news directly. This is the rip the Band-Aid off thing. Don't walk your way around the words or try and sugarcoat the situation. You want to break the news in the simplest and most direct form you can. So for example, if I have some sad news, I might say, I'm so sorry, I got some sad news to tell you, but Archie died this morning. Very simple and quick and to the point. Now, step four is going to be to pause and let your child process what you just said. Validate their feelings if they are sad, if they're mad, if they're confused, or whatever emotion they might be feeling at that time because of the bad news. So tell them that their feelings are normal. Give your child a hug and simply listen to what your child might want to say. Empathize with your child as much as you can. It's okay to say things like, I feel sad too. And being transparent with your own feelings is good. You just want to control those feelings and inside of yourself so that you can role model that self-control. Again, your child needs you to be the anchor. So we don't want to be all over in our own heads when we're trying to support our child. Now, step five is to prepare yourself for questions. Now, I suggest waiting until your child has questions before telling them the details. I might tell them, I'm here to answer any questions that you might have when you're ready, and then be prepared to share the details at an age-appropriate level. Make your language as simple as possible because their emotions will likely be running really high. The brain doesn't process all this information as well when they're in that radical kind of state and they're very emotional. So lastly, be prepared to repeat yourself again later. Sometimes hearing the news once just isn't enough when a child's trying to understand the situation. Their brains aren't working at full capacity because of all those emotions. So be patient with your child and expect to repeat yourself now and maybe even a few days later. Now, step 6 is to pause again and let your child process that information. So after you've answered some questions, pause again. Let them process. The bad news is often complicated. I recommend you tell your child the details in segments. This allows your child to absorb the information in chunks and gives them opportunities to process feelings and then ask more questions. And although giving your child all the information at once might be your first instinct, try to refrain from that because your mind and emotions will likely want to just get all that information out and over with, like I said before. Still, I don't recommend that you just dump a load of information on your child, not when they're in that state. So instead, break it out into chunks and take your time. Now, step 7 is once all that information is out, your child might feel overwhelmed. Here's where I suggest giving your child a small, mindless task to do. Let me say that again. After all the information's out, you've sat there with your child, they've asked all the questions that they want to ask. Step 7 is giving your child a small, mindless task to do. This helps your child move forward and constructively process their feelings. You might ask your child to draw a picture, make some sandwiches, do a simple craft, or help you with laundry. It really doesn't matter what it is as long as it doesn't take too much brain power. Whatever it is, make sure that the task is mindless. It's very simple, but there's no pressure to it at all. And has your child using their hands and their body in order to do it. While your child is doing their simple task, stay close by if they have more questions because it might come up at that time. Or just be around so that they feel like they have some company. Now, step 8 is after you've given some more space, they've done their task, give your child a plan. Now that the bad news is out and it's all in the open, your child has a little bit of time to process what's happening. It's now time to help your child understand what comes next. Have a discussion about next steps. For example, suppose there's a death in the family. In that case, you'd want to talk about how the next few days there might be a lot of family around, how they'll likely miss school because there's going to be a funeral, and discuss how your child can help others that are grieving. You can also give your child a plan for helping them process their emotions. Maybe you talk about writing in their journal or creating art that expresses their feelings. But giving your child a plan for the immediate future can feel comforting in that time of huge emotions and lots of chaos. It gives them a sense of security, and you're helping them take one step at a time, moving forward. Now, step 9 is lead by example. In my opinion, this is the most important step of all the steps because your child will watch how you handle the stress, the sadness, the anger, the frustration, the disappointment, and their instinct will be to emulate your behaviors. So model healthy coping behaviors and model self-care. And lastly, step 10, tell others your child might need support. Remember that the first few days of bad news will be the most challenging. However, this is not the case for every child. And some kids will refuse to process their emotions right away and wait until the next day or even the next week, even the next month to start asking questions. And that's okay. So be patient. However, either way, it's important to tell other adults around your child that your child might need some support. For example, I would tell teachers and babysitters, maybe coaches, or others in the household. Your child may process their feelings by acting out, and they could be getting aggressive, they could be hiding, they could start lying, they could be eating more, eating less. The side effects of bad news and all those emotions, the list goes on. Still, any behavior out of the normal should be noted. And teachers and babysitters will have much more grace and patience with your child if they know that your child is processing feelings, that something happened and there's a reason for the behaviors that they're seeing. Otherwise, your child might actually just get in trouble at school, and teachers won't have empathy to help your child if they don't know the situation. I really hope that helps you today. Whoever asked this question, thank you for submitting. And if you have a question for me for next week, please submit it. You can message me on social media at The Impactful Parent, or you can email me at theimpactfulparent@gmail.com. And maybe next week I will be answering your question live. But until next time, you got this, parents. I'm just here to help. Have a great day, guys.